21st Century Archmage. Author, Kim Gwang-soo. Chapter 41, Child of the Wind, Kyre. Translator, Lei. Proofreader, Imagine. Huh. My vigorous shout reverberated out. Showin winning. A ray of light cut through the air without mercy. Babam. The ogre's huge head was blasted into pieces. Squeal wail. Kwa-ya. The sudden horror made the monster scream. Oh man, my money. In the excitement of the moment, I had filled the blessed spear up with lots of mana. Only after the ogre's sellable head exploded did I come to my senses. Let me kill you nice and pretty with the fewest possible injuries. Kwa-ya. The ogres went mad, seeing their comrade die. Schwang. The ogres threw the spears they seized from the orcs, as well as the clubs they had in hand. Wyverns were invincible in the sky, but on land, ogres were big predators. Swoosh. Babetto dodged the miscellaneous things the ogres threw. Babetto then narrowly flew past the orcs' heads. Squeal. Squeal, 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 squeal. The orcs went crazy, squealing unintelligibly. Flip, flip, flip. Oh dear, just look at him. They've lost all fear, haven't they? The orc archers started shooting their bows. Kuah! Babetto roared in anger at the orc's impudence. Freely showing off his nasty temperament, he let out an immense roar that shook the earth. Crunch! Descending once again, he grabbed two orcs with his claws of steel and crushed them. Bam! Babetto threw down the mangled orcs. That's right, a go-getter should do this much at least. Click! I unclasped my safety ring. You're all dead. These orcs had gotten up on the wrong side of the bed today. Today was the day they would cross the river Styx into the gates of hell. Distance to Earth, just 10 meters. I simply kicked off a Babetto. I was no uncle of Superman or friend of Spider-Man, but I had a skill that rivaled superheroes. And that skill was Spiral Tornado. Spiral Tornado, the strongest of the fifth circle wind offensive spells. Bay air, 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 air. My mana core rang with a heavy vibration. Flash. And then, a clear blue mana tornado burst out. Merging within moments with the mana in the atmosphere, the spell turned into a rotating maw of wind that rushed to Earth. Whoosh. It was a wind tornado formed from hundreds of blades. Whoosh. After exploding onto the ground underneath me as I fell, the tornado spun out like a concentric wave of wind in all directions. Squeal-wa-ale. Squeal. Splat. Splat. Splat-a-tear. Gruesome death cries from the pig-headed orcs rang out as their bodies were nicely minced up within the tornado of wind and scattered like rain all over the place. Wow, monsters were different from humans. These cursed creatures, which only housed blood, slaughter, and hunger within their heads, sprayed out blue blood as they were torn to pieces. A radius of 20 meters has been completely fucked. It was a fifth circle spell, but it was boosted to almost 6th circle level due to my powerful mana. There was complete annihilation within 20 meters, and even beyond that, dozens of orcs with their limbs severed by the remaining force were collapsed on the ground. Look at those bastards. Stomp, stomp, stomp. One stupidly gutsy ogre came charging in, the earth shaking as it ran. Qua, baring its enormous teeth like King Kong. The ogre came running at me with an orc in each hand. FWIP. FWIP. After running until there were 10 meters between us, it hurled the two orcs in its hands. Bam! Bam! I didn't move, but the two orcs flew past me and were turned into paste. I pushed off from the ground, with the hiss of steel echoing out as I drew my sword. Using mana charge steps, I cut through 10 meters within moments and appeared in front of the surprised ogre's red eyes. Plunge! My sword, imbued with a blue aura, embedded itself into the ogre's neck. The sword arced, whistling with its speed. Swish! Spewert! The orc was killed by piercing it with my sword and then swinging in an arc. Even though there were quite a few movements, only a few seconds elapsed. Blood spewed out of the ogre like a fountain. I must have hit an artery. Thump! Like a tree felled by a woodcutter, the ogre fell face first onto the ground. Woo! 500 gold, Gib. The fact that I earned money made me happier than killing an ogre. Just like there were people who only earned a few dollars per day, there were those who earned several million per day. I wanted to be one of the latter, not the former. And I had more than enough ability to make it happen. Where are those guys going? After one got annihilated by my blessed spear, and another was cleanly butchered by my sword, I saw the remaining 3 ogres turning to flee. Hey, stop right there. I haven't fulfilled my quota for today. Stu stump, stu stump. The 3 to 4 meter tall ogres fled, their you-know-whats flopping noisily as they began to run for real towards a forest far away. They were already about 100 meters away. I grabbed one of the orc's old spears on the ground. Fwhip! Bang! The spear cut through space faster than an arrow and lodged itself deeply into an ogre's back. Goo! Squeal! Flop, flop! On top of that, Babetto was playing with the orcs like a cat hunting a mouse. Dozens of orcs had already fallen victim to Babetto's claws, lamenting their lack of wings. Squeal, squeal! Goo! The orcs screamed unintelligibly amongst each other. Ruinable. They suddenly turned tail and scattered into all directions. Voot? Is it over? Though they were known as a vengeful race, these orcs, which possessed the nickname of battle-crazed monsters, were busy fleeing for their lives. Goo! Chasing the fleeing orcs, Babetto was completely absorbed in the joy of the hunt. Uaea! The orcs are running away. Chase them. Catch those orcs. What? What did that guy just say? After a cheer rang out, I heard some ridiculous words. Creak! People began to pour out as the door of the ramparts opened. However, the orcs had already run far away. Thus, the people quietly surrounded me instead. I suddenly felt like a monkey in a zoo. Mercenaries? No, they seemed to be villagers. The men all had spears, and some had shields and swords. They were armed enough for me to think they were mercenaries. Greetings to the honorable, esteemed Sky Knight. An old man appeared among the people who were showing embarrassment and fear instead of respect or gratitude toward the person who had saved them from a crisis. The old man bowed deeply. For saving our Sanalo village like this, I wish to represent the villagers as the chief in giving you our thanks. I couldn't respond to the chief's words. An elder ripe in his years was bowing his head to me, but my current rank was that of noble. I couldn't do anything and simply looked at the chief and the people. I wish to show our sincerest and utmost gratitude towards you for saving our village, even though we have not paid the protection fee for several months. Whether I spoke or not, the chief of Sanalo village mentioned a protection fee as he made an apologetic expression. Protection fee? What the heck is that? It is a trivial amount, but this is the money we gathered after hunting monsters and animals for several months. It is far too insufficient to cover the protection fee, but please accept it. Once things settle down here, we will pay everything, including the delayed protection fee. Looking furtively at me, the chief carefully drew a leather pouch from his pocket. It looked to be barely 100 gold. I don't need a protection fee. I began to say, I wasn't some kind of neighborhood hoodlum extorting snot-covered money from little kids. That won't do. We cannot give you any more female children. We would rather all die together at the monster's hands than send any more of our girls to become slaves. Without even hearing the end of my sentence, the chief's face went pale as he showed his desperate will to resist. Female children? Slaves? What the fuck is going on? It wasn't just the chief, but the men surrounding me. Their faces were burning with rage and hostility. Goo! Gasp! However, the villagers went stiff with fear at the sight of Babetto flying over with an orc in his mouth. Will you give me some bread? Looks like I need to find out what's going on. I could tell there was a story behind the chief's words in regards to the protection fee and female children. Be bread, sputtered the chief. I nodded. Let's go inside. The chief seemed to look for sincerity in my eyes before nodding. Jero, quickly go and tell everyone to prepare food because a rare guest has come. Understood, chief. At the chief's order, a young man named Jero ran into the ramparts like there was a fire lit under his butt. But why is everyone like this? Like people who haven't even had grass to eat. Upon closer inspection, the faces of every villager were gaunt. It is an honor for our humble village to receive you, esteemed Sky Knight. The chief was giving me the highest regard, almost as if facing a king. However, a few young men were busy stabbing me with their gazes, their animosity almost palpable. Babetto, go and take care of your meal on your own. I loudly relayed an order to Babetto, who was flying above my head in case of danger. Goo! Catching my drift, his lengthy wings spread wide, and he swiveled in the air. But will they even have any bread? Sanalo village had the same smell of poverty as Luna village. Taking relaxed, leisurely steps, I entered the village. Oh, looks tasty. The village buildings, numbering about 100, were roofed with various grasses that looked like sticks and reeds. When I entered the chief's house in the middle, steaming white bread appeared shortly afterwards. It was even accompanied by flowing brown honey that gleamed in the light. It isn't much, but please eat as much as you wish. Glug glug. The chief, who I found out was named Ivan, poured some kind of freshly squeezed milk into a wooden cup. Thanks for the meal. Though I was a noble, I couldn't be rude to this white-haired old chief, so I gave light thanks as I slightly dipped the bread into the honey and tore off a bite. Oh, the fluffy and soft bread along with the dipped honey. It tasted killer. It's delicious. It is a relief that it suits your palate, sir. The chief, who had been surreptitiously studying my expression, smiled brightly at my words. He was facing a noble. He was well aware that his life could be forfeit if he just looked at me wrong. Chief Ivan, what is this protection fee you mentioned? The protection fee? Indeed. Why do you pay a protection fee to Sky Knights? From what I heard, residents here do not have a lord, so they don't even pay taxes. Sir Knight, is this perhaps your first time here? Asked the chief carefully. Indeed. I began my new post here yesterday. Phew, so that's how it was. Then I will answer your question, sir. In the past, there wasn't just our village here, but quite a few other villages in the area. But because the monsters could not be subjugated, the number of monsters steadily increased. And as they increased, the number of villagers decreased. However, those of us with nowhere to go but here put our lives on the line and guarded our land and hunting grounds. In fact, we were able to maintain our lives because we could receive about 1 gold from the orc hides alone. But sometimes strong monsters like ogres or trolls would appear, and I ate the soft bread while listening to the chief's extremely long explanation. It was supposed to be about the protection fee, but somehow the subject turned into a rambling complaint about their lives and how these Nerman plains have been truly wonderful to live in days long past. Before I knew it, the bread was all gone, but the garrulous chief's words went on and on. His explanation made me think he simply wished that a new lord would come and chase off all the monsters, allowing them to live like farmers and hunters like before. They say living simply is the hardest thing to do. It was the same in 21st century Korea. The dearest wish of penniless and powerless residents was to avoid debt while having a house where they could raise their kids and have a decent job. And also, they wished to live in a place defined by laws and rules, a place where they could breathe easy. Callian continent or Earth, there wasn't much difference. The only thing was that this continent was more of a mess. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Sir Knight, it is insignificant, but please take this at least. After listening to the chief talk for almost 2 hours, I left the village and called Babetto down to a clearing in front of the village, his belly full and bulging with orc meat. It was then that the chief pushed a pouch towards me with trembling hands. It is all right. Eating the delicious bread was enough. The villagers had looked at me with hostility at first, but after seeing me going back after just eating some bread, their faces had become much looser. You rotten shitheads. Under the pretext of a protection fee, you rip them off every month for a few flights around. Because of the constantly increasing monster numbers, the poor villagers could not even farm or fish. That bastard Viscount Lookance ripped off a protection fee from these people who were barely eking out a living by hunting orcs. Only by paying the protection fee would Sky Knights patrol once or twice per day and hunt the bigger monsters, like ogres. Geez, you can already earn a ton just by catching ogres or trolls, but you're stealing pennies from the poor as if there's nothing more to take? The Sanalo villagers were wearing rags, and their bodies lacked all fat. Fuck a protection fee. They looked like they should be getting relief money instead. But what should be done with the ogre and orc hides? As soon as the chief said that, every villager's eyes began to gleam. These days, even the orcs were appearing in swarms, so they couldn't even hunt and earn any money. Apparently, merchants came to buy hides from them once every month. My wyvern is full, so I don't think I can take them with me. Do as you please with them. Hey, are you sure? Thank you. Thank you. It's nothing much. Chief Ivan was shocked, and the emotional words poured out of the watching villagers' mouths. I will come patrol whenever I have time, so be aware of that. Then goodbye. I lightly dipped my head and jumped onto Babetto. Sir Knight, before you go, please at least tell us your name. Oh, may the grace of Semire, goddess of blessings, be upon you. The villagers rejoiced over a few monsters. They either drew crosses or bowed deeply as they expressed their endless gratitude. Feels quite good. It was nothing for me, but for these simple folks, it was a battle to the death with monsters. A single bread that warmed my heart was more than enough payment for today. Babetto, let's go. Goo. His belly filled to the brim with orcs, Babetto let out a roar. Then, with powerful beats of his wings, he jumped off the ground. Swoosh. With just a few wing beats, he ascended into the air. I turned the reins. Because Chief Ivan had told me there wouldn't be any more villages even if we went further in, I wanted to return to Wayne Covert. Foot a tear. As we flew high into the air, a warm wind rushing in from the sea hit my armor and made my crimson cloak flap. Yawa! The endless horizon before me. I faced the vast ocean and let out a powerful shout. The future ahead of me was unpredictable, but right now, my mood was extremely good. Gulping the wind of the sky, I screamed my head off. Child of the Wind, Kyre, is flying with all his might in the sky right now. Chapter 42, damn it. Translator, Lay. Proofreader, Imagine. In the end, it's not even a small city. Sigh. Thanks to Babetto, whose full belly had improved his mood, we arrived early in the skies of Denfers. Seeing the enormous castle that showed just how much expectation the Bajran Empire had placed here in the past, I couldn't help but let out a sigh. If there had just been an excellent leader, this place wouldn't have been reduced to such a state. Countless thoughts tangled within my mind. Swoosh. While I was lost in thought, Babetto slowly landed in front of the Wayne Covert hangar that had become his home. He wasn't even Lassie, but he found his way home well. Tien, Lassie, the famous rough collie from Lassie Come Home. A very loyal fictional dog. Oh, it's been nicely cleaned up, huh? Besides the soldiers standing on strict guard around the hangar, there were around 10 other people who looked like workers fixing up the hangar or cleaning the area around it. Kyrnim, Babetto. Derval greeted Babetto and I with a bright smile. Derval, nothing happened? As you can see, sir, besides this, nothing happened, Derval grinned, pointing to the surroundings. For enlisted men, their discipline is pretty good, huh? In the morning, I hadn't been in the right state of mind, so I hadn't taken a close look at Janice's men. Even after seeing Babetto and I, they were keeping strict watch without a hair out of place. But Kyrnim, it seems you will have to accompany me outside for a moment. Why? As I jumped off Babetto, Derval told me we had to go back out. We need to acquire goods necessary for daily life here, and I believe we should recruit some mercenaries who can guard us for the time being. That's so? I guess you're right. One couldn't entrust their home to the neighbor's dogs. I nodded my head at Derval's words. I wanted to sightsee in the city, anyway. Then, let us depart at once. I have already prepared the horses. Horses already? Derval's preparation mentality was always so outstanding. He brought out 2 horses from within the hangar. Go. As soon as the horses appeared, Babetto's eyes sparkled. He must be remembering the taste of the horse meat he'd gotten at Kerfone Covert, because his golden eyes were gleaming brightly. And, oh, you brat, leaving the free meat all over the place and wanting the expensive stuff instead. Just a few wing beats from here, there were free-range organic orcs playing around. Since that was the case, I had absolutely no desire to offer Babetto horse meat just to satisfy his palate. It wasn't because I was stingy or narrow-minded. Okay? I leave things to you, Chase Nim. Please don't worry and have a good trip. Derval made a quick bow to the knight in command of the soldiers. Seeing him do so gave me a good feeling. He didn't cling to a useless thing like pride. He was reliable and trustworthy. Babetto, keep an eye on the house for us. Go. Responding with his own wyvern language, Babetto nodded. His cuteness didn't suit his size. Hiya, knee. The horse saddle was worlds different from Babetto's back. It felt just like going from a Hyundai Equus to a Daewoo Tico. Tien. Equus is a higher-end, streamlined sedan. Tico is a bulky, boxy car. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Please, just give me 1 copper. My siblings at home are crying from hunger. Sir, please give me work, any work. If you give me anything to eat, I will work with my life on the line. Watch what you grab with those filthy hands. Pow! Ack. After leaving the covert, I saw an almost destroyed road and broken buildings, as well as the scenery of the ravaged city. It's really this bad? The season was changing from spring to summer, so it wasn't that cold, but there were groups of kids begging on the streets with bare feet, feet that had probably been bare throughout the winter as well. Mercenaries were resorting to violence without hesitation, as if annoyed by the kids, as they desperately latched on. At one point, there was a gold rush in the Nerman Plains. It was a place with sea access connecting it to other continents, vast and fertile land, and mines getting discovered here and there. The Empire actively started an immigration policy to send everyone and their mother to Nerman. But the invasion of the monsters, enemy countries, and pirates have turned the land into what it is now, said Derval, his voice thick with regret. It's a Sky Knight. Yuwa. Run. The kids begging or gathered in the alley screamed after seeing me and fled. Not just them, but the mercenaries and regular civilians also rapidly ducked their heads or hid in the alleys with hurried steps. The buildings are old, and the people are hungry, and their hearts are filled with fear. Seeing Denfers up close was completely different from seeing it from above. My feelings became complicated. This city was poorer and dirtier than any city I'd seen so far. It looks like the commercial street is over there. I heard that because of all the monsters in the area, there are quite a few monster-hunting mercenaries, magic towers acquiring magic ingredients, and specialty merchants there. Thanks to everyone scattering at the sight of me, the street had become desolate. Only the buildings, still looking clean on the outside, were left. I saw from going around, but it seems there isn't any farming except in the vicinity of the city. How does the city get its food? It seems that merchants come and go through the Havis Kingdom. Because of the Kessmeyer Islands pirates, ocean travel has likely been blocked for quite a long time. It's more of a mess than I thought. Piles of trash and filth were lying around everywhere, as if there weren't any people maintaining the city. It made me think that this was a haven for rats and cockroaches, not people. If the monsters could just be blocked, there would be no place on the continent with conditions as good as here. It would have been fine if the Empire had put in a little more strength, but just as the Empire was preparing to focus their forces here, the allied Kovalan Kingdom was attacked by the Tamiran pirates, so the strength was diverted. It is truly a shame. Derval sighed in regret as he gave his evaluation. If I became the Lord here, a conjecture suddenly appeared in my heart. I would probably have to pour in money by the millions, right? But I was no rich mega-millionaire, and with what power could I possibly take care of almost hundreds of thousands of monsters on my own? Moreover, the Nerman Plains looked like a broken jar. Even if you poured in water, it would simply drain right back out. This looks to be the Mercenary Guild. I realized with Derval's words that we had arrived at the commercial street. Worn-down buildings at least 2 stories tall were sprawled on both sides of the street to my left and right. I saw around 100 seedy-looking mercenaries standing in front of a 3-story building. Derval and I approached the Mercenary Guild, which naturally drew the gazes of the mercenaries out front. They were startled by the sight of my crimson Sky Knight, cloak, and silver airplate. I haven't seen this Sky Knight before. It's that new rookie Sky Knight who fucked up Viscount Lucan's soldiers yesterday. Looks like he's determined to die, to offend Lucan's Nim without any fear. TSK, TSK. My sensitive ears caught the mercenaries' whispers. Gossiping amongst each other, their faces changed as soon as they met eyes with me, scorn and ridicule in their eyes. The only thing these nobodies had was their bravado. Clunk! I descended from my horse as the mercenaries watched. This ain't even some kind of mobster wedding ceremony. The mercs were carrying scars on their faces and bodies like tattoos. Even though I didn't frown, just looking at them made me lose my appetite. I gave the reins to Derval and entered the guild. Cuckoo, acting tough for a bastard about to die. Kakik, looks like even dogs and cows can become Sky Knights these days. As I was quietly passed by, 2 of the mercs mumbled behind my back without a shred of fear. Schwing, pow, gah. I let loose my specialty, the roundhouse kick. Popo. I sent one guy flying far away with a single kick. Then I proceeded to throw my right fist directly into the face of the other guy who disrespected me. Thump. Without even being about to cry out, the dude rolled down the stairs with all his teeth gone. Gee. The mercenaries let out small cries of astonishment. In response, I simply smiled coldly. No other words were necessary. Creak. Having tied up the horses, Derval ran over and opened the guild door. I turned my back again and walked inside. This time, there weren't any jeers. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. You say that guy went into the mercenary guild? Yes, Pomernim. Looks like his guts have grown past his ribs. For a bastard kicked out of the Empire to come here and act so high and mighty. What do you wish to do, sir? We have also confirmed that his wyvern is in its hangar. Should we take care of it? No. Yesterday was enough. We must not move without the permission of Lucansnim. Within Viscount Lucan's mansion inside Denfers, Palmyr, a Sky Knight dispatched from the Lucans Viscounty outside the city, was speaking with a knight. Then, keep an eye on him for now. Every move he makes, all the people who interact with him, what kind of secret plot that bitch made with him, find out about it all. Never, ever look away. As you command, shouted the knight, at Palmer's order. Try having some fun, rookie. Palmer was well aware that if it was bad enough that he got sent all the way here, then there wasn't a single person who would pay attention to him if he died. Moreover, he was someone who had a hybrid wyvern, a taboo for Sky Knights. Because those Tamir bastards came attacking on all kinds of hybrid wyverns, there weren't many people who would be surprised by the sight of hybrids here. But in the end, someone riding on a hybrid could not be considered a perfect Sky Knight. His name is Kyre, right? Come crawling if you want to live, instead of hurting yourself, trying. Cuckoo. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. And my Sky Knight armor and cloak. The gazes of everyone in the building focused on me. Who's the guildmaster here? With smooth informality, I asked for the guildmaster. Please wait a moment, responded young mercenary as he scrambled up to the upper floor. It's pretty tidy for a mercenary guild. Mercenaries were synonymous with ignorance. Despite that, the interior of their home base was tidier than I expected. While I was inspecting the inside of the guild, someone descended from the upper floor. Is he really a mercenary? Unlike the mercenaries, who flaunted scars all over their bodies like tattoos, the young gentleman had a neat and slender face. The man, who looked as if he had barely reached the second half of his 20s, was coming down with an annoyed expression. For what reason have you come looking for me? Unlike the mercenaries, who were daunted by me, a Sky Knight, the handsome man spoke without a care in the world. His bluish curly hair and eyes were memorable. Are you the guildmaster? Well, these days, yes, the man said, giving me a half-assed response. His mana is considerable. I didn't try a mana scan, but I could faintly feel his vigor. Considering the intangible energy wrapped around his body, he was definitely someone strong. He doesn't look like a mercenary. I could feel dignity in each and every action of his, to the extent that I would believe it if you told me he was an Imperial Guard Knight. He definitely had some extenuating circumstances. I want to acquire some mercenaries. Mercenaries? If that's the case, you could just talk to these guys here. The guildmaster made an expression complaining about why I called him over for nothing. Double the wages for every grade. Mercenaries who can use aura and mages will be decided on after an interview. In particular, if a mage wants it, I can provide a spell book. Oh, if you mean indefinite employment, are you looking to enlist soldiers? The guildmaster said, his eyes sparkling. Oh. Instead of responding, I laughed quietly. My eyes met with the guildmaster's in the air. At that moment, the guildmaster smiled. I felt a strange sense of kinship with this person. Is that going to be okay, sir? Unaware of my financial situation, Derval cautiously asked me if things were okay like this once we left the mercenary guild. He probably thought it was extreme that I wanted to recruit mostly third-rate mercenaries that would cost several gold each every month for twice the price. Derval, if it were you, would you want to work for me? That is, if they come, then I'll take them. And if they don't come, then that's that. Why does each and everything need to be so complicated? What I need right now are numbers. Viscount Lookins was probably keeping an eye on my movements. If it were me, I wouldn't leave a baby lion trespassing on my territory like an idiot, either. This isn't even some strategy simulation game. For a while, I was addicted to a tactical role-playing game called Romance of the Three Kingdoms. My situation felt more and more like I was a character in a game similar to it. The business district is more impressive than I thought. After leaving the mercenary guild, we walked to the road where the stores were gathered. The buildings are old, but they should be usable with a little repair. From explanations I had heard, I knew that Denfurs and the Nerman Plains were places that actually had pretty good conditions. PR/N. Just a criticism to the author. We don't need to know how good it could be here every few paragraphs, geez. Kyrnim, it looks like we can acquire goods from there. Derval pointed to one of the general stores among the countless storefronts. Isn't that the Rubis Merchants? On the sign was the Rubis Merchants, the group I was familiar with. Like their reputation as one of the big five on the continent suggested, there was a Rubis merchant building even here. They're famous for their honest trade, unlike other merchant groups. Instead of being owned and operated by the market prices of every empire and kingdom, they're a company of pure merchants worth believing in. Derval praised the Rubis merchants, his voice full of trust. Derval, I'm registered as a close friend of one of their executives. Cuckoo. Derval didn't know much about me. We stopped in front of the Rubis merchants. Welcome. Unlike the other places, there were 10 armed guards solemnly standing guard here. Because the city was akin to a lawless land, it seemed they were taking a lot of precautions to protect themselves. Ring ring. Greeted by the guard's courteous reception, we went into the building. Wow! The inside of the building, which looked to be several hundred pyong large, was filled wall to wall with goods. There was weaponry like armor and swords, various utensils like pots, and supplies like flour in stacked-up burlap bags. Tien, 1 pyong is 3.3 square m. It's no different from a superstore. Greetings to you, Honorable Skyke Knight Nim. I wish to sincerely thank you for coming to our Rubus merchant group. I am the branch manager of Den Furs, Lenkies. As soon as we entered, a bald mister in his mid-40s came running over and bowed deeply. Derval stepped forward. We have come to buy some goods. What exactly? My liege, Baronet Kyer, has been newly assigned to the covert and wishes to cultivate some soldiers. He wishes to purchase all the products needed for that, as well as various goods necessary for daily life. This is a list of items necessary. Who knew when Derval, ever well prepared, had written it up, but he passed over a paper crammed with letters and numbers. It is quite the list. 200 suits of identical chainmail, 300 halberds, spears, and long swords. And even war horses at that. The bald manager's face became disconcerted as he read the paper. As you probably know, here on Ermine Plains, it is difficult to acquire identical suits of armor and weapons because of the mercenaries. It will only be possible if you give us at least a month's worth of time. The rest are ordinary goods, so they can easily be acquired from our branch. And I believe this amount of military items will require the permission of Viscount Lookins. The branch manager made a troubled face. Branch manager, it would be good if we could speak quietly to the side somewhere. Pardon? You understood. Please come over here. The branch manager was startled by me butting in. His characteristically weaselly merchant face stiffened into a block of wood. Mister, I won't kill you, so relax, all right? On this continent, anyone with a rank was like a gangster. It was probably a big deal for a commoner to face a noble. Derval, take a close look and see if there's anything more we need. Yes, my liege. Derval had named me as liege. He was truly a respectful young man. If there's anything else you need to say. Branch Master Lenkies, how long have you been with the Rubus merchants? It has been around 20 years, but TSK. But to still only be a branch manager in a dangerous place like this and not be a supervisor yet. Tien, merchant hierarchy is as follows. Merchant, branch manager, one of 12 supervisors, one of 3 executives. Lenky's eyes went round at the sound of my tongue clicking. Please cooperate actively with me. If you do so, I will make you a supervisor within a few years. As supervisor? That is absurd. I am more than happy with my current. Hush. Wyverns leave their hides when they die, and humans leave their names behind. How can a man have such feeble aspirations? If you've been born in the world, shouldn't you let your name be heard at least once before you die? Moreover, as a branch manager sacrificing yourself to serve the merchant group in a dangerous and remote place like this, I would think you have a right. Don't you think so? Dealing with ignorant mercenaries day after day, with the fear of monsters barging in, struggling in this city that is no different from a lawless land. Don't you think you absolutely deserve at least that much regard? I poked his pride to the point that Lenkies couldn't even open his mouth properly, and was just gaping like a fish. That is, Lenki's expression wavered at my words. Everyone's feelings were about the same. If it were me, as long as some kind of sense of loyalty wasn't involved, I would want to work as a superior somewhere safer, too. I quietly revealed a token in front of the conflicted branch manager Lenkies. Gasp. This is a supervisor token given to me by executive manager Jameer. That's correct. It is engraved with Jameer Nim's seal, said Lenkies, nodding as he looked at the token. Do you understand now? If only in name, he was the merchant in charge of an entire region. After confirming the token, he was quick to understand the meaning behind my words, and his eyes gleamed. In fact, not to brag, but the executive manager was able to reach his current station thanks to my help, also. If that is the case, then were you perhaps the person who acquired the mater and the demon beast leather for him? Oh, the news has spread this far. I wasn't an elder, but my manner of speech had completely turned into that of a noble. I made a slightly surprised expression as I gave a big flourish. Please take good care of me. I request your guidance in the future. Branch manager Lenkies immediately folded in half. Cuckoo. This is why connections are important. There is no need to say much more. I wasn't someone who would indecently rip them off, but a good customer who was trusted enough to borrow credit in their name. As long as he listened to my words well, Even if he didn't score the big bucks, he could still ride on my coattails. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Have a safe trip back, sir. If there are any goods you require, please contact me at any time, and I will come running right away. Huh. It was a very delightful exchange. It was truly an honor to have met you, sir. Everything had gone as smooth as silk. From the side, I could feel Derval's gaze of intense admiration. I guess it was impossible for him to feel otherwise towards me, someone who had solved the impossible within the blink of an eye. A 20% discount and a no-interest payment plan. Jameer, I'll buy you a drink next time. Derval, let's go. Yes, my liege. Still receiving the farewell of the guards and the branch manager, who was still in 90 degrees position, I turned the reins towards the covert. I'll grow in no time, to the point that you lookants can no longer fall asleep at night. At first, I just wanted to quietly catch monsters and gather the funds to buy territory without drawing any attention. But there was a new enemy who would simply not leave me be, Viscount Lookants. For the sake of my peace, he was a big thorn that needed to be removed. Derval, since we're already out, shall we eat before going? Let us do as you wish, my liege. That title, my liege, was sweeter to the ears than I imagined. It was difficult to receive someone's voluntary allegiance, an allegiance formed not of coercion or money, but sincerity, especially from someone like Derval, an educated elite in his own way. How many soldiers does Viscount Lookants have again? I asked, sure that the smart Derval had asked Janice's soldiers during my absence. Including the Viscount himself, there are 12 Sky Knights, around 50 Knights at the Blade Knight level, 2 Fifth Circle Mages, 1 Intermediate Wind Summoner, and about 4,000 regular soldiers. For 1,000? Quite a lot. Even on the Empire's mainland, this much military force would put them on the same level as a count. But there is something unique. Something unique? It is something to do with Baroness Janice. Janice was a Baroness? Baroness Janice is not a noble exiled from the mainland, but a Nerman native. A Nerman native? Yes. I am told she is the formal successor of Baron Jadrin, who possessed a territory in the Nerman Plains. Formal successor? In particular, after being appointed here, the man named Lookants was on very good terms with the Baron who was Janice's father. But one day, the relationship between the two of them soured, and not long ago, the Baron passed away in a manner that left room for doubt. Really, I do not know the details, but it is because of that issue that Baroness Janice has a very poor relationship with the Viscount. I believe there is some kind of connection between the previous Baron's death and Viscount Lookants. So that's why she was exuding such a murderous aura. I thought I now understood why Janice, who had shared a drink with me yesterday, had emanated such bloodthirst. I think the reason why she came to you yesterday was also connected to that matter, my liege. She wanted to win you, a Sky Knight, over in order to oppose Viscount Lookants. Derval shared his conjecture. Does Viscount Lookants have his own castle? He does. His base is the Gadain Castle, an hour on horseback from Denfors. And Baroness Janice is at the fort visible from a port. They should be busy combining their strength to fight monsters and enemies. But instead, these two parties were butting heads in a power struggle amidst the indifference of the Empire. I don't want to get squeezed between them. Let's not make things complicated, because you might trigger a nerve. The Nerman Plains were too good to hand over. I tried my best to suppress the strange emotions squirming and growing deep within my heart. This place wouldn't make any money and was just a headache. It was far too lacking for me to make my dreamed-of paradise here. My liege, that place looks decent. Derval gestured towards a clean two-story inn in this desolate and worn-down city. Tumble. Gag. Darling. Daddy. Yuawa. A middle-aged man suddenly came crashing out from one of the stores we passed, breaking the store door into pieces. A wailing woman and a little girl around 10 years of age came flying out after him. Ho-ho. As the interest for the money you borrowed for the months-long due protection fee, we'll be seizing this store from now on. 5 soldiers wearing hard leather and a knight walked outside from within the store. Era? Those guys, I've seen them often before. They were uniformed just like the reckless soldiers of Viscount Lookants who messed with Derval. Why you can't? This store is the entirety of our family's fortune. Where's my family supposed to live if we get chased out like this? Please, just give us one more month as a chance. When the leathers come in today, we can make goods from them and sell them to pay off our due interest. Sirs, please save us. His mouth must have gotten hit because the man who flew out was bleeding profusely as he crawled to the knight on his knees. Bam! Ack! But the knight met the crawling man's face with his steel-armored shin. D darling? Awawa. You meanies. Stop bullying my daddy. Yua. A woman rushed to the man, bleeding as he tumbled on the ground, and brought him into her arms. The kid was wailing piercingly. If you borrow money, you should pay it back. You think money grows on trees? If you really have nowhere to live, why not become serfs receiving Lookinsnim's protection? If you do that, at least you'll be fed, given a place to sleep, and protected from monsters. How very nice. Kukuku. The dirty and shameless knight jeered as he said despicable things. I couldn't believe such a person was wearing a knight uniform. No matter how much of a lawless land this place was, the conscience of this era was one where a knight should be bound to protecting the weak and being loyal to one's lord, but this person was no different from an evil loan shark. Why are you bullying my daddy? You meanies. Yua. Pang pang. The clueless girl ran up to the knight and pounded his armor with her tiny fists. You rude brat. A soldier at the side swung his spear at the child. Stop now. A hot emotion surged up from the very depths of my heart, suddenly billowing up and heating up my whole body. What? Gee. That guy is. Only then did the knight and soldiers see us, their faces full of alarm. Thump. I flew straight out of the saddle. Pow! And threw my right fist. Ack! The soldier collapsed to the floor with one hit. CL clang. The knight unsheathed his sword. Popo. Ack! My crisp roundhouse kick stretched out, followed by a painful cry. Tuyumble. At my mana charge blow, the knight flew 5 meters into the air and rolled on the ground. After subduing the knight and his comrade with moments, the remaining soldiers turned pale as their teeth chattered. Go tell Lookins not to live life like this. The soldiers were trembling too much to respond. Fuck off. A short 2 words. As soon as they fell from my mouth, the soldiers collected the collapsed knight and soldier with frightening speed and turned tail without a single look back. Dear darling, sobi. I'm sorry. His face black and blue from how hard he got hit. The man limply held the woman's hand and apologized. You are. Before long, the kiddo had come running back to her parents. The 3 family members sat on the ground, embracing each other as they cried. At some point, a crowd of Denver's residents had gathered to watch. Everyone's faces were hard as they blankly stared at the 3 people, clenching their teeth and enduring the rage of the powerless who could not possibly oppose enormous power. One side of my chest tightened. I had just witnessed the sorrow of those with nothing. I turned my head to look at the sky. Damn it! And from my mouth came a single curse. The sky was damn bright. On a day like this, it looked cruel. Chapter 43, Stormy Life. Translator, Lay. Proofreader, Imagine. Derval, what do you think I should have done? We had returned to the covert, with the family of 3 that would have certainly faced retribution because of my actions. I quietly asked Derval that question while stroking Babetto's leg inside the hangar. It hadn't even been a few days, but I already could not simply stand by and watch the suffering of the Nerman Plains people. The monsters were on the verge of breaking in, but these people were in an extreme situation where they had nowhere to go. I like you, my liege. My question was about what I should have done, but Derval suddenly said he liked me instead. You always have a bright smile on your face, but you sincerely worry about people like me, the weak. That spirit will be the solution. Derval's Zen riddle advice made my chest feel even stuffier. Just like how Pikachu won't save you any electricity bills, this place won't make any money. Damn, from the first time I heard the name Nerman Plains, I had felt strangely drawn to it. But it was too burdensome a fish for me to swallow. Ho ho ho. Babetto. Boo. Behind me came the voice of the kiddo, who was teasing and playing with Babetto, a wyvern, without any sense of fear. Da-da-da-da. Mister. The kiddo ran into the hangar. Seeing me, she flashed a radiant grin and ran up. And Mister. Arg. Lucia KO'd a fresh young lad, not even 20 years old, with Mister. She tackled herself onto my leg and held on with 2 little arms. Gotcha. Hee, tag. You're it, she warbled. Just moments ago, she had bravely charged at a knight upon seeing her bloody father, but somehow she was already beaming with a bright smile free of all the world's worries. My chest prickled with heat. Lucia. Q quick, let go at once. Lucia's mother appeared as well. Worried about the retribution of Viscount-looking soldiers, I had brought Lucia's family here. And as soon as they arrived, Lucia's mother had taken charge of dinner. Looking at Lucia's unguarded behavior, the apron woman made a flustered expression. It's all right. He, Mr. really dotes on Lucia, right? Handsome Mr. Little blonde Lucia had to tip her head way back to look up at me with her short body. The sight of her joyful, blooming smile warmed my heart. Of course, I've never seen a lady as pretty as Lucia. Yoa, are you proposing to Lucia right now? Ho ho ho. Then when Lucia becomes an adult later, Lucia will get married to you, Mr. Lucia's eyes sparkled with happiness. I smiled helplessly as I lightly patted her head. I apologize. The child still has no sense of manners. Lucia's mom approached, bowing her head politely. Has the move been uncomfortable? I asked. I had given one of the nearby hangars in the area I could protect as a temporary residence for Lucia's family. No, sir. We are very comfortable. I cannot remember the last time we could be so carefree. Thank you, sir. Waving her hand, the woman teared up a bit as she relayed her thanks. I could discern the breadth of Viscount Lookant's lawlessness. Mister, will you be protecting our family from now on? As her mom dragged her away by the hand, Lucia asked with a curious voice. Mister is a Sky Knight who defeats those bad dragons and monsters. My grandpa, who's gone now, said that Sky Knights are the guardian knights of the sky who protect our dreams. Guardian Knight of the sky who protects their dreams. Lucia's words crashed into my heart with a resounding thump. Of course, my liege will definitely protect Lucia's dream. Right? Ho ho. Mister, thank you. Lucia will grow up fast and get married to Mister. Lucia dipped into a deep bow. Yeah. Faced with Lucia's extremely pure and honest intentions, I inadvertently ended up nodding as well. Tien, calm your tits. This is a brother/sibling relationship and will never ever progress. Damn it, it won't even make money. My face hardened with a bitter smile. I was looking forward to the rugged future ahead of me. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. It would require a troop at least 100,000 strong. In addition, at least one of the continent's 7 magic towers active support and a temple that can make a great deal of holy water, as well as an intimate relationship with one of the major merchant groups on the continent. A troop 100,000 strong, magic tower, temple. Yes, and that's the very least it would take. The Nerman Plains are more dangerous than any other place on the continent. That's why even the Budgeran Empire is planning to let it go. 100,000 troops? You think you can find that on the streets? And how the hell would I pay for that many soldiers? Derval, from what I heard, doesn't the entire population of the Nerman Plains only add up to several hundred thousands? That includes the elderly and young. So how would it be possible to foster an army of 100,000? Money was one thing, but the numbers just weren't adding up. That is the problem. Any sane person wouldn't willingly come to the Nerman Plains. Of course, it's not as if there is no way to solve that. Derval stopped talking and stared blankly at me. This, I said, making a circle with my hand. Derval gave a light nod. It is possible to resolve the issue of the soldiers if skilled mercenaries on the continent are hired. Even on Babetto's back, this piece of land was so large that you would have to fly for quite a long time to see the end of it. On a map, it looked to be a huge land about 200 kilometers from front to end. Such a big area could not be covered by mercenaries hired with money. The mercenaries are one thing. Would any magic tower be crazy enough to come help? And a temple would have to be off their rocker to come to an unprofitable place like this. From what I heard, the Nerman Plains didn't even have a single of those commonplace temple branches. Up until a few years ago, there had been a few, but after the hungry people kept rushing at them, they all quietly disappeared. In other words, they were unable to sell God's name and do business in a place like this, which you could shake upside down and only get dust bunnies from. However, if it's you, my liege, it should be possible. I believe, just like how you were my salvation from the darkness, I believe that you can make these Nerman Plains into a land of peace. Gay. I was no savior, but Derval was looking at me with blind loyalty and trust. I won't seriously just become the lord of this place at this rate, right? The lord position of the Nerman Plains was something I had never expected or even dreamed of. It did draw me a tiny bit, but becoming the lord of this place, which would suck up my money and efforts like a black hole, would be like slathering yourself in honey and dancing the Charleston. You would have to take control of this covert first. You have to make this Wayne covert, which the other Sky Knights are not even using, into your territory, my liege. Ow! Through persuasion, Derval gradually revealed some measures, as if he had already been expecting this. Persuade who? You just have to persuade Count Pavis the nominal leader of the covert. With a bribe? Yes. It should be more than possible with the items inside our hangar. The Empire's troops will actively retreat within a few months anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem to give him some guidance a little earlier. Derval was telling me to offer my life savings, earned through my blood, sweat, and tears, as a bribe. And if everything goes as planned, the mercenaries should be gathering around tomorrow. No matter how scary Lookins is, there will definitely be people swayed by money. Something so abstract as tomorrow isn't very important to people like them, anyway. At times like this, he's seriously cool-headed, even though he was always sending absolute loyalty and respect my way. In regards to other situations, he evaluated everything with a leveled head. All right, let's take control of the covert then. A splendid decision, my liege. Nothing in this world was so easy that you could resolve it with your thoughts alone, without even trying. In any case, my life was going to be a long 100 years. Even if I couldn't succeed, I wanted to give it a shot. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. So why have you come? Leader of Wayne Covert, Count Pavis, was enjoying a comfortable life guarded by a knight at the gates and 100 or so sentries all over the place. His eyes had gone as wide as plates when he heard that I came to talk. You miserly guy, you probably wouldn't bleed a single drop even if you got pierced. Even Wayne Covert was probably getting quite a nice sum from the Empire. Count Pavis was misappropriating all that money and feigning complete ignorance. He didn't seem that happy to see me. Haha, I came because I have a favor to ask. A favor? A favor to ask from me. Even though I'm very sure that I told you, I have nothing to give you. Count Pavis' brows furrowed as soon as the word favor came out. Don't worry, I won't steal your gold. It's too dirty for me. I heard that the Imperial troops will soon be summoned back to the Empire soon. Most likely, they will. Please leave the covert to me. The covert? Yes. It would be good if you could transfer it over to me today, immediately. Cuckoo, I heard you're getting picked on by Viscount Lookins. So you're planning on using this place as a fort or something? He knew. Rotten bastard. You should have warned me at least. Count Pavis was making an ugly smile. It was a face I would want to dunk right into a toilet if we met in the bathroom. I had prepared a small gift outside. If it were me, I would rather retreat now than return to the Empire with empty hands after a few months. This pig of a count's eyes began to sparkle with curiosity at the mention of a gift. Oh, following my finger to the scene outside the window, he let out an exclamation. Does it please you? It does, but with that alone. This shithead, I've been saying yes, and you still won't budge. The Count's eyes were dripping with greed like a fatty piece of bacon. If you don't want to, then that's that. I saw a lot of empty forts outside the city, too. He misjudged me. As I spoke, I whirled towards the door. Haha, why is such a young man so impatient? All right, I'll vacate the covert today for you. HNG. Vacate? What a funny squid. Sitting pretty outside was a Wyvern Mithril alloy magic armor that could easily fetch at least 1.5 million back in the Empire. I was giving it up in this unavoidable, regretful situation, but I was going to calculate interest in my heart. Then I will leave for now. I'm thankful. I'll never ever forget your sincerity for as long as I live. Ha ha ha. Sincerity? Right back at you. I will never ever forget you either, you bastard. This beaming pig-like Count Pavis. I stored his greasy mug deep inside my memory, as someone to strip buck naked if we were to ever meet again. There are around 500 of Viscount Lookins knights and soldiers stationed in Denfurs. They are staying at the Viscount's mansion in the city, with a Sky Knight named Palmyr at their center. 500? It's not as much as I thought. The city's public order is formally being maintained by the military commander soldiers, but I heard they are receiving orders from Viscount Lookins. From what I ascertained, there are only a few thousand Imperial mainland troops under the commander's banner. The majority are conscripted Nerman natives. Using the information Derval had gathered from various sources, we began analyzing Viscount Lookins' military strength. Then when the military troops retreat, they'll probably just become Viscount Lookins' men, huh? Most likely. But there's something I'm curious about. Why does Viscount Lookins want a place that even the Empire gave up on? Even with 12 Sky Knights, it would be a tall order to take on all the monsters with just that much military power. I would also like to know that. I could not get a complete answer regarding that aspect from Baroness Janice's knight and soldiers. Only, I believe it could be linked to the pirates. The pirates? Derval had gleaned information from the knight and soldiers dispatched by Baroness Janice. It seemed his exceptional brain had picked up on something. If what I heard from the carpenters who repaired the hangar is to be believed, then apparently, after Viscount Lukens gained great power, the plundering of the pirates decreased significantly. That's how the residents here inevitably became reliant on Viscount Lukens, even though they're getting sucked dry of money. What you mean is, in this remote land that even the Empire is throwing away, there's no one other than Viscount Lukens to protect them. I believe that may be the case. I believe they think that once the Empire formally pulls out, there's no one but Viscount Lukens who can protect this place. Something smells fishy. I suddenly caught the whiff of a conspiracy. The reality was that they had no one other than the loan shark boss Viscount Lukens to believe in. Whether they died or lived, the residents of the Nerman Plains, who had nowhere else to go, could only do as he said. In that kind of situation, Viscount Lukens had to face the enemies jumping in from all over. Unless he had a few screws loose, there was no way he could handle this place on his own. There must be something behind him. That something is... How many pirates are there? The soldiers here said they're also not sure. It's not just because it's impossible to investigate each and every one of the 10,000 Kesmire Islands, but also because of all the people they have kidnapped in the past. They have captured over 100,000 residents of this territory alone, and also plundered every nation around these waters, kidnapping a sum that reaches numbers in the hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands? That many. Somalian pirates existed even in the modern 21st century, but those guys were small fries in comparison to the Kesmire pirates. If they were extreme enough to kidnap hundreds of thousands of people, then they were gutsy beyond compare. It's not exact information, but I heard of the pirates' notoriety even in the administrative academy. They're not just pirates, but almost on the level of a maritime kingdom. A maritime kingdom? Yes. They're on the level of being able to deploy a wyvern offensive around 10 units strong. A wyvern offensive? I repeated the uncommon name that I'd never heard before. That's what they call a large ship that can transport between 6 to 10 wyverns per unit. A aircraft carrier? Gee. They really did deserve to be called a maritime kingdom. If mere thieves could even deploy aircraft carriers, there was nothing more to say. They're unbeatable on the sea. That is why they have managed to deeply interrupt the trade between the Haldrian Empire and the Eastern Continent. Oh, to even interrupt trade between continents. I didn't know who it was, but the boss of the pirates definitely had an exceptional head on their shoulders. But such strong guys' attacks have decreased. Doesn't it smell fishy to you? It does, and very strongly at that. I met eyes with Derval, who understood my thoughts. Are you confident? I simply believe in you, my liege. Long words weren't necessary between those who understood each other. Viscount Lukens. He would be a fairly big fish to tackle. Viscount Lukens and I had an ill-fated relationship from the beginning. If I wanted to survive here, I would either have to reach a compromise with him or defeat him. However, I could never go in with my head bowed. If I was someone who would bow my head to a mere Viscount, my life so far wouldn't have been this difficult. They say Count Pavis and his soldiers are leaving. While Derval and I were talking, Baroness Janice's knight came running into the hangar to loudly report, panic obvious on his face. I know. Huh? You know, if Count Pavis leaves, we cannot guard the covert with our strength alone. Well, they're basically just decorations at this point anyway. Isn't it better this way? The knight was rendered speechless by my confident words. He was probably thinking it was ridiculous to try to guard this large covert by himself and 20 soldiers. Leadership of the covert has been formally passed on to Baronet Kyer from today onwards. The knight's eyes widened at Derval's unexpected words. Relay that to Baroness Janice, I said. If you're afraid, it's okay to leave. These few soldiers couldn't be much help. It was a bit of a shame, but if they wanted to go back to Janice, I didn't intend to stop them. Understood. He must have settled his thoughts, because the knight gave a short nod. It seemed Janice had raised him quite well. Derval, I'm going out for a moment. Pardon? There's something else I need to buy. But, while Count Pavis was still here in name, Lukens couldn't just bring in his soldiers on a large scale and cause a commotion. The covert was, after all, indisputably an important building of the Empire. However, once the Count left, there would be nothing else for the enemies to fear. I had to prepare my own way before that happened. Goo, hearing that I was going out, the dozing Babetto opened his eyes and relayed his concern. Guard the house well. But I had absolutely no desire to strut through the city on Babetto's back. Come to think of it, how come I don't even see a single one? The conditions I offered were extraordinary. That was definitely bait that a mercenary with only girls and money in mind would find hard to refuse. The result of our visit to the Mercenary Guild would definitely be revealed about now. Welcome to the Eldorian Magic Tower Branch. Eldorian Magic Tower Branch. For a Magic Tower branch, it was far sloppier than the grand and mighty ones I'd seen in the capital. Still, I went into the one that looked the best out of the magic towers on the street. Fourth Circle Mage. The mage's sleeve was embroidered with 4 golden lines. There was a fourth circle mage in his mid-50s and 2 assistant mages inside the branch. What lousy goods! The Eldorian Magic Tower branch stood out in stark comparison to the Gauss Magic Tower I'd seen in the capital. Rather than focusing on sales, it seemed their main purpose was to purchase monster corpses and goods required by the Magic Tower, because there weren't many decent magic products inside the building. Are you perhaps Baronet Kyer, the newly assigned Sky Knight? As a fourth circle mage of a major magic tower, he should be around the same level as a countryside noble, but he carefully questioned my identity. That's right, but how did you... How could I not know the name of Kyrnim, whose name made the rounds in Denfurs as soon as he arrived? The mage guffawed. Well, it's not a good thing, but thank you for knowing my name. Even though I was a baronet, a fourth circle mage was someone who should receive quasi-noble treatment. I used honorifics as I facilitated an amiable atmosphere. But what brings you here? Could you perhaps be wanting to sell the Wyvern magic armor? Among the people who gathered when Janice sold her goods weren't just merchants, but also mages. That's probably why this mage knew about me. No, I'm here because I want to buy a magic crystal and dust. A magic crystal and dust. Yes, I would like to acquire a grade 6 magic crystal and around 10 kilograms of low-grade magic crystal dust. 10 kilograms. Magic crystal dust, a component used in magic circles. Even if it was low-grade and not upper-grade, 10 kilograms was still a huge amount. What do you want to use so much dust? With that much, it would be possible to complete several magic circles. The mage went from surprised to suspicious. I'm currently recruiting mercenary mages, and when they come, I intend to set up a few alarm spells for defensive purposes. So that's why. But for 10 kilograms, it will cost 10,000 gold. Will that be all right? 10,000 gold? Whoa, you daylight robbers. The mage attached a price of 1,000 gold per kg on this low-grade dust, which wasn't even the top-grade stuff used in a warp circle or complicated arrays. Even for the premium price put on magic ingredients, unlike magic crystals, the dust could be filtered from mana springs and was easy to acquire. The magic towers were taking advantage of their monopoly on the springs. I was frustrated on the inside, but it couldn't be helped. All right then, let's just see how long you guys can continue to look down on me. That is cheaper than I thought. I will settle it at once, so please prepare it for me. Our Eldorian Magic Tower is originally well known for our honest dealings. In particular, the current master of the tower, Archmage, is someone who lives by the creed of treat lies like black mages. The mage smoothly rambled on about honesty without a hitch. He was as fake as a politician in from the 21st century. TSK. This is why you're still only at the 4th circle at your age. As a fairly old mage, this Eldorian branch manager must be feeling the limits of his growth. Considering the thick rolls of fat I could glimpse under his robe, it looked like he would flop right back down onto his, but if he tried casting fly. So that's the case. As expected for a master of a great magic tower, lies didn't cost any money. I agreed enthusiastically with the branch master's words. Here it is. If you come visit us again next time, we will do our very best to assist you. While I was talking with the branch manager, the assistant mages came up to me holding bags. Just like how jewels were sold based on size, magic crystals had to be a certain size and grade to be treated with any significance. For the payment, if you go to the Rubis merchants and say my name, they will give you the money. Pardon? If you can't believe me, go over now and receive the money. I will wait here. And no, it's not a big deal. After looking troubled for a moment at my lack of cash, the branch manager feigned generosity. He was probably thinking that surely no mere Sky Knight would mess with a major magic tower. Then, please work hard. I will come back sometime. Take care of yourself, sir. The trade was finished, so we respectfully said our farewells. Unfortunately, I would have to occasionally come here in the future. There was no need to frown and spoil the relationship. With this, I think I can pretty much finish it. On my to-do list wasn't merely alarm circles, but a greater defense magic circle. As soon as I thought of defense magic circles, hundreds of formulas came popping into my head like magic. If you don't have teeth, chew with your gums. I might not have soldiers to defend the covert, but I could rest assured to a certain degree if I had a few magic traps. What I had that others didn't was magic ability. With all this knowledge in hand, there wasn't much I needed to fear in this world. Just look at him. As soon as I left the building, I felt a few gazes on me. They were scrutinizing me closely, spying like little rats. It hadn't been long since my arrival in the Nerman Plains, but even here, there were enemies everywhere. My life was nothing but stormy. Chapter 44. Riker. Translator, Lay. Proofreader, Imagine. There's old, and then there's this. I returned to the convert under the scrutinizing gazes. Just looking at the huge covert outer wall taking up one part of Denfers made me frown. It occupied a space bigger than most universities, but there were so many places in need of repair. Even though I don't even have any money. In the end, all my problems could be fixed with money. After Count Pavis left, the soldiers loitering around also disappeared from the big covert. As I went inside, I saw quite a few people. They've come. Hoo-hoo-hoo. You couldn't call yourself a lump of simple desire, aka mercenary, if you didn't drool at such attractive bait. 1, 2, oh ho. There's already 100 of them. Unable to face the hangar where Babetto was at, the gang murmured amongst themselves in a group. Era? That guy is... While I was looking at the mercenaries with satisfaction, one person caught my eye. Isn't that the guild master? The slick-faced guild master who had answered me so apathetically at the mercenary guild was here too, standing at the head of the crowd. He's here. As one of the mercenaries spotted me and yelled out, everyone turned in tandem to look at me. My goodness, my cute little prey. They probably thought of me as a pushover, but I saw them as prey. Clip-clop. However, I didn't reveal any of my feelings on my face. Pretending to not see them, I slowly led the horse toward Babetto's hangar. I simply passed the mercenaries. Stop right there, if you will. Then I heard the guildmaster's quiet voice. He's no ordinary fellow. Not only did he have quite the mana, but there was a certain weight in his voice. The authority was palpable. Did you mean me? Arg, I can't get used to this no matter how much I do it. If I had stayed in Korea, I would have been nothing more than a talkative, cheeky kid. The ink hadn't yet dried on my ID card. It wasn't easy for someone as young as me to act like a distinguished knight. Not long ago, I had been fighting my way through a time of growth while pitifully begging my mother for just $10 and buttering her up. TN, Koreans get their official identity card when they reach 17 years of age. But now, I had become a noble who led the people with a long blade at his hip. At the same time, the weight on my shoulders was so heavy it could make you puke, which applied to even I. What do you want to do? Do what? I said, feigning ignorance at the guildmaster's query. It seems you don't mind playing with your life, and now you've even gotten dementia. Ha! Era, would you take a look at him? The guildmaster was mocking me in front of all these mercenaries. Did you insult me just now? I asked, my voice flat. How could that be? How could a mere mercenary insult an esteemed Sky Knight with a baronet title? It was just that I wanted to know if you remembered what you promised. The guildmaster, whose eyes were as blue as his hair, smiled with a hint of derision that contradicted his words. I descended softly from the horse, hiss, and gently unsheathed my sword. As I did so, the mercenaries tensed. As the mood suddenly turned grim, they looked at each other in confusion. How much? Let us start with 1,000 gold per month. After I check. I will not decline. From the moment I saw him at the mercenary guild, I could feel the guildmaster was no ordinary man of skill. It seemed I needed to stomp him down nicely once. Why is someone with the status of guildmaster trying to work under me? There was no doubt that the guildmaster, whose name I didn't even know, had personally brought the mercenaries here. There was no need to say much. CLA clang. Dual blades? What the guildmaster drew was not a long sword, or even a rapier, but 2 swords of medium length. For every 10 strikes of yours, my pay will go up by 1,000 gold as a hazard fee. Sizzle. The moment he pulled his blades, his aura clearly changed. Master. Though he didn't even look 30, from the guildmaster's swords came an aura blade that neared master level. It was a surprise. Here I come. Flash. As soon as he finished talking, a sword cut through space in no time. Oop. There was no time to think. Before I knew it, 2 swords were baring their vicious teeth towards my heart and lower body. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. CLA clang. Whoa, my liege. Because of the swarm of mercenaries that showed up, Derval was as tense as a bowstring. For some reason, they gathered on the runway in the middle of the covert without approaching the hangars. Derval, who was tense alongside the dispatched soldiers because of those mercenaries, breathed a sigh of relief at the sight of Kyre. There was one knight and 20 soldiers here, but 100 mercenaries was a force to fear. And they were Nerman mercenaries at that, who were rumored to be far more skillful than mercs from other places. They were rumored to not hesitate to resort to burglary. Derval couldn't let down his guard. He was looking warily at such mercenaries when his trustworthy liege appeared. It's dangerous. Because of the dense throng of mercenaries, Derval couldn't see his liege anymore. However, from the sound of weapons being drawn, he could tell that his liege was currently in danger. Let us go. To think that mercenary guild master Riker came. At Derval's words, Knight Chase made a groan. Is he a dangerous person? Asked Derval immediately, feeling that something was off. I don't know for certain, but a few months ago, he forcefully rose to the mercenary guild master position. I heard rumors that he exceeded grade 1 and is being called a special grade mercenary. A special grade. The special grade label was attached only to blade masters or six circle mages, as well as high summoners. They were strong people who could receive a peerage from a kingdom with their skills alone. Let us go. Startled by the thought that this Riker might be someone sent to assassinate his liege, Derval left the hesitating Chase and hurriedly ran over. Let's go. As Derval recklessly ran towards the mercenaries, Knight Chase rallied the soldiers. His master, Baroness Janice, had given him an order to do his very best to protect the rookie Sky Knight. Schwing. I was facing dual sword for the first time and could not concentrate. One was going for my head, while another was aiming for my waist, as lithe as a fox's tail. Clang, clang. They're full of strength. I thought the strength in each blow would be halved because they were dual swords, but the guildmaster's swords didn't feel like that at all. Even as he sliced with his right hand, his left hand was thrusting. His swords were fast, precise, and full of power. It was hard to counter. Slice. Damn. While I was frantically struggling to adjust, the armor on my chest was sliced. The mithril alloy airplate was cut like butter. A steel sword's sharpness plus aura blade. I could die. I clenched my teeth. I could use magic, but I didn't want to do so. Use teeth to fight with teeth and swords to fight with swords. I wanted to defeat the man in front of me with a sword. Rush. Understanding my intent, my mana pitched and rolled. Flash. A blue aura blade, so bright it blinded the eyes, burst from my sword. Master. Whoa. It's a master-level aura blade. As the aura blade ensconced my sword in blue, surprised cries burst from the onlooking mercenaries. Unlike the mercenaries, the guildmaster was not fazed. He made a peculiar smile. His sword also sizzled as it took on the hue of deep blue water. HM. The guildmaster was retreating back a little as he focused his blade. A master's special technique. I could feel it, that the guildmaster was about to release his finisher. Geez, why'd I have to put my life on the line all the time? I don't even have life insurance. I didn't like this world's rule that strength was king even if it got dangerous. Here on the Callian continent, if someone offended you, you'd have to draw your sword. If you didn't like someone, you'd have to draw your sword. Or perhaps you wanted to test someone's skills. You'd have to draw your sword. I really missed Korea, where the good OL police were standing watch. I had to make my own move. The strongest sword art I could use wasn't my own skill, but the special technique of Hyneth's family. I wanted today to be the last time I used it. I had my pride as a man. I couldn't keep using someone else's technique to preserve my life. Oop! I heard a grunt from my opponent. He's coming. Two swords cut towards me. SCH swing. Two tangible energy blades whistled towards me without even leaving a shadow. Just as I expected, it was a technique only a master could deploy. Swords made of mana took on tangible form and pierced through the air. Blade sword. Oh, it's blade sword. The name blade sword came from the mercenaries. Hiya. My instructor had taught me that a shout is a concentration of one's mind. I put my clear mind into the shout. My body rushed forward with light steps. SCHSCH swing. The Hyneth family's shadow sword art, which somehow became my specialty, flew out. Clang, clang. The shadow swords unerringly blocked the guildmaster's incoming blade swords. Clang. Ah. Now I could perfectly make 3 shadow swords. They destroyed the guildmaster's 2 blade swords, leaving 1 shadow sword to rush towards the guildmaster. Swing. The guildmaster's 2 swords had been swinging like 2 well-oiled cogs, showing no gaps. But now, one of them wavered, clearly exposing a gap. I would be a fool to miss that chance. A swing with my whole body and it cut diagonally towards the guildmaster's shoulder. CL clang. Metal met metal with a clatter. He wasn't even a real enemy, but my sword mercilessly aimed for my opponent's neck. The guildmaster barely managed to block the blow by crossing his swords like a scissor. His face turned bright red from the overwhelming force of my mana. Surrender, will you? His whole body trembled as he put all his strength into blocking the sword inches from his face. His face changed from red to white. Hello. Then, just as he was about to say that he lost, I suddenly had the feeling that it would be a shame to end things like this. I had to engrave myself firmly in the minds of the mercenaries, watching with bated breath. Ho! Inwardly, I broke out in evil laughter. I still had plenty of mana left, so I simply raised my right leg and quietly but swiftly kicked the guildmaster's most important place. Pow! I felt my foot hit something weighty. H-H-G H-H-H-H-H-H-H-H-H-H-H-H. The guildmaster's gruesome scream rang out in the covert. And, as if he hadn't participated in a sword duel just now, the guildmaster threw down his swords and rolled around on the ground in fetal position. Erg. Ah! The mercenaries groaned as if they could feel the guildmaster's brutal pain. Does any other brave mercenary want to check my skills? The relaxed smile of a victor on my face, I looked at the surrounding mercenaries. But they either hurried to dodge my eyes or duck their heads. If I said I would give them a lot of money, all they had to do was to come and line up, but these fearless souls openly resisted me. As they sweated and stared at the guildmaster who was still rolling around while holding that place, it seemed as if they had finally found their lost sense of fear. My liege, Derval called out, having run up at some point. Derval, go take care of that guy a little. Pardon? I wonder if they cracked? The guildmasters, what had felt pretty hefty. I was secretly worrying as I watched the poor chap who was on an all-inclusive round trip to hell. Damn it, it was exactly 10 strikes right before the kick. The cause of my worries wasn't the guildmaster's bleak future as a man, but my 1,000 gold. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. They're worth using, somehow or another. It's insufficient with 100 people, but if they do double shifts, it should be possible to cover the important areas of the covert. The guildmaster, named Riker, after taking a while to regain his senses after my last hit, acknowledged his defeat and signed a year-long contract to work under me. After the guildmaster signed his contract, the mercenaries who followed him also hurried to stamp their thumbprints on their contracts. All right, now I finally feel like a noble. Up till last night, I had stayed in the hangar with Babetto, but after Count Pavis left, I moved my nest to the office of the Covert HQ. Rotten bastard. He took all the important stuff with him. Count Pavis had taken all the useful things in the HQ with him. Still, even this empty office was 100 times better than a hangar. Move Babetto to the closest hangar and bring Lucia's family here. Already taken care of, sir. The more I see him, the better he gets. As far as sharp-sightedness went, Derval sure was sharp. This was probably why every CEO or chairman had their own secretary. It was so they didn't have to pay attention to the trivial things anymore. Just know that this is all thanks to me. The rumor that a special Grey Guild Master has moved will spread far and wide, so starting tomorrow, they'll come by the handful. Riker, whose eggs weren't cracked, fortunately, stood in a crooked position as he boasted his contribution. Should I just break them for real? With a face like that, you could easily use him as a eunuch. Riker's mental education was still lacking. From today onwards, he was no longer a guild master, but a man under my employ for a whole year. Do your best for me. If things go well, I'll buy you a big meal. Really, trust me, I may look like this, but I'm someone who grew up with honesty in a family that knows no lies. Cough. Even I felt embarrassed saying that and couldn't help but cough a little at the end. But it wasn't wrong. My family's motto was honesty. The problem was all the conditions that came under that umbrella. Understood. I will try putting my faith in you. Unlike his words, Riker was looking at me with zero trust in his eyes. He definitely needed a bit more convincing. But why did you want to work for me? For someone of your skill, Viscount Lookins or Baroness Janice would have surely treated you well. There was no need to be suspicious of someone behind their back. If there's something you want to know, just ask. That was my method. Hoo-hoo. It looked like it would be fun. I was slightly startled by Riker's words. This guy is also... Mischief danced in his bright, blue eyes. This was probably why I felt a sense of similarity with him when we first met. Young life, The Young Life of Youth. A YOLO. TN. Lyrics from an old Korean song. If you remember, it's the same song from Chapter 7. Rather than living all complicated, a YOLOer sought the most fun thing around them. He was, in other words, someone with the same mentality as me. Of course, the money seemed tasty too. That indiscernible brilliance coming from your body. In my eyes, you looked like the second coming of the god of wealth, Lumiyangsnim. Gay. His way of laying his inner thoughts bare right in front of you was just like me too. With that face, a certain 21st century Korean drama suddenly came to mind. F5 Song Woo Bai. Song Woo Bai, one of the main characters in the drama that had been sensationally popular before I came to this world. Man over flowers. He was a cool character with high stats, a good face, and a playful way of living life. Then I must be Kang Junpyo. Cuckoo. TN. Reference to Gun Junpyo, the male lead of K-drama Boys Over Flowers. Filthy rich. At one point, Kang Hyuk, had been a young prince with an unlimited card. Now, I was a big shot lord with a baronet title and a wyvern. There was no rule saying I couldn't become a Kang Junpyo in this world. Dreams belonged only to the dreamer. I would definitely make my dream come true. Good. I'm thankful that you evaluated me like that. That aside, what are your thoughts on the Nerman Plains? He was the guild master for a while, at least in name. I looked forward to his rational evaluation of this place. Here? It's an utter mess. I've never seen this much of a mess in my whole entire life. Even the ever-chaotic Eastern continent isn't this bad. This place, where ambition has turned the strongest noble mad, bloodthirsty enemies with hearts as black as tar all around. The empire that owns the land is like a womanizer who claims someone, but is looking elsewhere, and the people are starved and ragged. Kaya, this must be the place most beloved by the god of evil, Kerma. The ugly contents of his speech didn't suit his bright smile at all. Riker laughed as he spoke without a care. So why did you come here? Me? Dunno. I fell asleep drunk and ended up in this place's harbor. Those damn bastards. Even though I definitely paid them enough to send me all the way to the Open Empire. Garg, just let me catch you. I'll cut a big hole in your bellies. The passionate youth, Riker, suddenly went from speaking normally to burning with bloodthirst. I shouldn't have asked. He only looked fine, but he clearly had a few screws loose. If he was put into a mental hospital, it would probably take him at least half a year before he was discharged. That aside, Kyronim, my mood is met today, so would you like to go score a drink with me? A drink? Ho-ho, I know a good place that the others don't know about. They've got half-elves and cold beauties from the Ice Empire. How about it? Riker was speaking to me, his employer, with a lascivious look in his eye and a lewd voice. Get out. Hee. If that's too much, then maybe a little advance pay. Today's the day I have to pay my tab. Sigh. At those words, a sudden thought occurred to me. Damn it. The reason he came to me wasn't because of the tab. Was it? He was an extraordinarily talented person with a perfectly fine face and skills worth bragging about. But the only thing inside his head was carnal desire. No way. Derval, advance pay will absolutely not be given without my permission. And tell everyone that anyone who violates the contract and runs away will be fed to Bebeto. As you command. If things went wrong, my big plans could crumble even before they began. I thought I should focus and keep my head on straight. That's right. In a place where everything is a mess, how can there be anyone you can trust? Ah, shoot. They even said some dark-skinned ladies from the Iraq Empire are coming today. Even as he was going out the door at his dismissal, Riker eagerly expressed his regret. Damn bastard. Curses towards Riker suddenly burst out of me. Why did he say that? A very pure curiosity about what kind of place Riker mentioned might be started burning down there. Half-elves, ice beauties, art. I was a healthy young man who had yearned for enlightenment for a long time. The countless porn I'd watched without my parents knowing ran through my mind. You idiot. It's only manners to ask at least twice. And suddenly, I felt rage burn towards Riker. He was a truly rude guy with no manners. Chapter 45. Guardian Knight Protecting Dreams. Translator, Lay. Proofreader, Imagine. Once the night deepened, I began to draw magic circles in the area of the covert I picked out, the dust hissing as it fell from my fingers. Harder than I thought. A few magic circles among the countless ones in my head were selected for the job. It wasn't anything as weak as alarm magic. Shock magic circle, wind cutter, firewall. Ho-ho. Should be a sight to see if someone gets caught. A big feast was prepared for those who snuck up the covert walls instead of coming through the front gate. Like installing booby traps, magic circles were completed at the base of the walls. If they trigger it, the area 10 meters around should be fucked. These magic circles couldn't compare to the greater defense magic circle I was making on top of the walls, but they were perfect for the current situation. Phew! I started from nightfall and finished one every hour. The magic circles were getting completed so fast that if any other mage saw this, they might think that the god of magic had descended to earth. Such speed would be impossible if not for the magic knowledge engraved in my head. They're magic circles made with elemental formulas, so hoo-hoo. Even I can't predict how they'll perform. SSSZZZZ. I used mana to increase the stability of the magic circles made with magic crystal dust. My task was to cement the dust to the earth so that it wouldn't be smudged by water, wind, or a certain amount of force. Done. The magic circle shone with a faint milky glow. I covered it with dirt. I should be able to roughly finish things after a few days of hard work. We wouldn't be dealing with a forced offensive right away. Unless Viscount Lookins was an idiot. He wouldn't come running to kill charming me. I had to use that time well. The problem isn't the soldiers, but the Sky Knights. 1 versus 12. That was something ghost-busting Marines would sometimes say to their girlfriends as a joke while drunk. 10. Something like, we were up 1 versus 12. The enemies outnumbered us. That was exactly the situation I was in now. One of them is inside a mansion within the city, and the others are holed up in that Gadain castle place, busy and making money. If I could do as I pleased, I would knock them all right over, but that wasn't possible. The 3 guys who fell under my hands only lost because they underestimated me so much, but 12 was a different degree from 3. Someone will soon take the bait. Before that, I should take complete control over those crazy mercenaries. Nerman Plains mercenaries had come rolling in from here and there. I heard that all the decently strong natives were either formal soldiers or had joined the ranks of Viscount Lookins or Janus. The mercenaries were different from those natives. They were people I absolutely needed for my plans. But do I really have to become the lord here? I was still conflicted. No matter how much you banged on a calculator, there was no good answer for this place. Rather than making money, even if you poured in time and effort, it would only result in a deficit. I was no Jesus or saint like Buddha. I didn't want to waste my precious life while going as far as to take a guaranteed loss. But things were progressing just as my ominous forebodings predicted. That aside, I need to invent a new sword art. Is there anything good I can use? My pride didn't permit me to be satisfied with someone else's technique. I was getting treated like a master thanks to my overflowing mana, but something was still missing. The stars are killer. I looked up into the sky while thinking about a new sword art, then saw the dazzling stars. My conscience wasn't completely clear before God, but it almost was. I felt naked under the thousands, no, hundreds of thousands of stars whose names I did not know. Among them, there were 8 stars lined up side by side like the Big Dipper. Schwing! Shooting star. Just then, a shooting star flashed from one side of the sky to the other within moments. It left no traces, as if it had never been there. Ghost. Meteor. 2 words suddenly sprang from my lips. Yeah, Ghost Meteor. With the Hyneth family shadow sword art as a base, the shape of a new art was sketched out in my head. As the saying went, imitation is the mother of creation. My sword art, which would be created with the Hyneth family's sword as a base, appeared and disappeared in my head like an illusion. I drew my sword, the steel hissing. An unidentifiable excitement enveloped my whole body. This sword art, my sword art, was going to be clearly different from the shadow sword art. That's right, if I make one, I should make 8. A sword art as fast as a shooting star, which disappeared before you knew it despite having tangible form. I had to give it my best shot. A person who tried their best to draw a tiger would at least end up with a cat. Ghost Meteor. The stance wasn't important. I filled my sword and head with mana that breathed along with me. More destructive power than the shadow sword art. Faster speed. More obvious material form. And my excitement. My heart thumped like I was on drugs. I controlled my beating heart as I drew in a deep breath. And then my upper, middle, and lower Dangian were opened. Even though I didn't know what exactly made a master, I had an exclusive breathing technique that allowed me to almost perfectly recreate the Hyneth family sword art after seeing it once. My mana core was on a different level from the cores of regular knights. Because of that, I was able to imitate a master sword art more easily than others could. Ghost Meteor. I shouted Ghost Meteor at a great tree next to the wall. 8 shooting stars were drawn inside my head. Whoosh! My wide-open dungeons and every cell in my body trembled as an enormous amount of mana was sucked from the merged mana core formed at my waist. They were drawn out of my head, but to my surprise, 8 shooting stars really did shoot out just like I imagined. Swing, 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 SCHS swing. A technique that followed the movement of one sword. A technique only for masters. Blade sword. Pow, pow, po 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 po. Low explosion sounds rang in my ear. GUH. And then my heart suddenly felt clamped up as my breath stilled in my chest, and every muscle on my body stiffened as if bitten by a venomous snake. At the sudden paralysis of my muscles, my sword fell from my hand with a clatter. Damn it, my whole body was as stiff as if I was caught in a hold spell. I couldn't even move my lips. Mana recoil. A certain term popped up in my head. It was the same thing I had suffered that one time when I hunted a boar. My teeth began to chatter, and cold air flowed all over my body. Fuck, of course. It was all fun and games in my head, but 8 blade swords were definitely overdoing it for me. Arg. It ached and hurt and even made me cold. Thankfully, it must not have been very extreme because my body gradually loosened. Phew. And a short while later, as the mana filled up my depleted mana core, I was able to escape the mana recoil state. The hell? Nothing happened. The girthy tree, which had lived for many years, looked completely fine even after taking a blow from me that almost cost me my life. Weird. Blade swords did get sent from my sword. I approached the tree, which looked completely fine by all appearances. Thinking it strange, I reached out to touch the tree. Crack, 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 rumble, yawa. The moment my hand touched the bark, there was a strange sound of something exploding from within, and then a moment later, the tree was divided into several pieces. I dodged the falling tree. Craywatch. Poof. The tree crashed to the ground, sending dirt flying up all over the place. E8 pieces. As the dust was blown away, I could see the tree. The tree had fallen to the ground in 8 pieces, its branches still trembling. I heard the sound of rushing footsteps. Over there. Just then, the patrolling mercenaries came running over, alarmed by the crashing noise. The big covert had to be covered by around 50 people doing double shifts, so they were a bit late in running over. Ha 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 ha. I didn't even hear the sound of the mercenaries running over. I simply burst out in refreshing laughter at the result made by me. Kyrnim, what is going on? Recognizing me, 5 mercenaries asked what was going on. But what happens if they don't die in one hit? A point of doubt suddenly occurred to me. If my enemy dodged the finisher I unfurled with all my might, or if there were other enemies, I would surely become a pretty sitting duck in my frozen state. I need more mana. Mana. Moreover, I could not face masters who were called the very best with only this level of destructive power. I simply had to overcome the barrier of the 6th circle, not to avenge my good OL master, but in order to survive. The mercenaries stared at me and the tree with curious expressions, but I passed them, feigning indifference. It was just one crisis after another. I was a promising seedling who still had a lot more growing to do. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. There are already almost over 400 people. At this rate, I think we will reach 1,000 after a few days. To gather this many mercenaries within such a short time, as expected of my liege. It's nothing much. No, they didn't come because of Kyrnim, but because they believed in me, the mercenary guild master whose heroic name has flown far and wide in the Nerman Plains. If I may be direct, is there anything Kyrnim did? There aren't many crazy dudes trying to oppose Viscount Lookins with just a few coins. Holy, forgetting he himself had sold his allegiance for just a few coins as well, Riker disparaged my contribution. I strongly felt the need to seize him and give him a true mental education one day. Ho, Viscount Lookins must be feeling anxious. Happy for whatever reason, there was a satisfied smile on Riker's handsome face. Just like he said, Viscount Lookins must surely be sweating. My liege, the problem starts now. Even if we fill our numbers with mercenaries, it will be difficult for them to oppose Viscount Lookins' men, who have received regular training. The smart Derval hit the problem right on the money. It's too much to turn mercenaries into loyal soldiers in a short amount of time. And the biggest problem is the wyverns. The mercenaries had come out of curiosity or greed for double the pay. With them alone, it was too much to face up with Lookins, the lord of the land here. Sir Riker. Sir Riker. Who dat? Riker, who had been giggling to himself, went round-eyed at the way I called him while dumbly pointing to himself. From today onwards, with the noble authority vested in me by His Imperial Majesty, I grant thee provisional knighthood. Keck. As I clearly emphasized the bestowal of knighthood, Riker coughed and turned a vivid shade of yellow. What, don't like it? Just tell me if you don't. I'll brand you on the spot for scorning a noble. If it's on the ear, it's an earring, and if it's on the nose, it's a nosering. The situation could change depending on how I painted it. I used the almighty wand of noble authority to knight Riker. And no, that's not it. But what about me would make you title me a knight? It's all right. It was the same for me, too. All right then, Sir Riker. Display your leadership in order to take charge of the mercenaries. If not for a heroic knight of Nerman, who would lead those monster-like mercenaries? You have my complete trust, my knight. Riker's face twisted into a scowl. Cuckoo. Serves you right. He dared to preen his feathers in front of me. I was determined to work him to the bone in the future. Sir Derval, I will bestow a provisional knight title to you as well. Thank you, my liege. Even though Derval couldn't even use a sword properly, I granted him a knighthood too. I just did as I pleased. Sir Riker, quickly go out and divide the mercenaries up by skill. And Sir Derval, do your best handling the administration, including the logistics, of the mercenaries that will grow in number from today onwards. As you command. As you command. Ho-ho. Now it's time to play for real. This was the current life given to me. I intended to excitedly play around with high spirits. Shall we go on a flight? It's been a while. The air above the Nerman plains was fresh and unpolluted. I wanted to fly up and take a deep breath. Swoosh, swoosh. Spreading his big wings, Babetto utilized the wind. The rushing of the wind rang in my ears through my airplate helmet. What a huge plane! Nerman boasted a size on the level of most duchies. For a valley ensconced by great mountains, this size was impressive. 3 lines of rivers combined to make the Lovent River. The plains are spread out around the river. There are small mountains and hills, but the height is right for growing fruit trees. If it simply developed, this land could easily feed 10 million people. It wasn't just the plains. There were many mines hidden within the mountains. Resources were truly bountiful. It was indeed a land blessed by God. Squeal, squeal. That is, if you just didn't count all the monsters, including the orcs, running wild down below. If it's possible to clear them all away and connect our defenses by constructing forts, even during the flight, my thoughts did not stray away from Nerman Plains development. It would be nice if it were possible to use Sky Knights and soldiers to systematically push the monsters towards the mountains. As we flew deep into the plains interior, ruined human villages and forts could be seen all over the place. When the monsters occupying them saw Babetto, they either ran away or murmured as they alerted the others of danger. There's got to be hundreds of thousands of them. Because it was flat land, forests were growing thick and monsters were scampering everywhere. Monsters with fairly high IQ, like orcs and goblins, were camped in groups with houses that looked like mud huts. Goo! Excited by the outing and uplifted by the monsters trembling in fear at the sight of him, Babetto suddenly let out a roar. Huh? What's that over there? I saw something through the visor of the helmet, which was made with the principle of manoscope. Sky Knight. It was a flight of 5. They must have not seen Babetto and me yet, because the wyverns were still peacefully flying in crane wing formation. TN. Crane wing formation is a semicircular formation more rounded than a V-shaped formation. They're Viscount Lookant's Sky Knights. The only person who would have more than 3 wyverns on the Nerman Plains was Viscount Lookant's. They must have just gone hunting because trolls were in the wyvern's sharp claws. It was like a whole merry family was caught because the trolls were all different sizes. Swoosh! Then the wyverns suddenly swerved towards me. The Sky Knights controlling the wyverns had flashing blessed spears in their hands. Do these guys not know any manners for fighting? It was absolutely an unfavorable situation. I reached out and grabbed a blessed spear in both hands. Even if I were all alone, I couldn't be a coward and flee with my tail tucked. HM. However, the person at the front raised his hand and the Sky Knights put away their spears. That person he can't be Lookant's? The man at the front was atop a huge wyvern that looked at least a head bigger than the others, even for a plain gray wyvern. A cloth with a winged unicorn on it was attached to the wyvern's chest. Swoosh! Because we were flying towards each other, the distance was shortened to 100 meters within moments. Swish! As we were about to intersect, The group of wyverns swerved to the right. They were wearing helmets, so I couldn't see their faces, but this was a demonstration of force. Go! As if displeased by the sight of the wyverns that had rushed towards him, Babetto let out a low cry. The butts of the wyverns, as they flew away, was tempting and conflicted me for a moment, but I decided to hold off. The man Kang Hyuk couldn't treacherously hit someone from the back. Endure it. There'll be another day. It wouldn't be too late to go round after I had a good look at Viscount Lookin's face. My eyes still on the flight of wyverns already flying far away, I turned the reins. Babetto, even those guys had one prey each, so how does it make sense for you to be sitting around? Show me your amazing ability to catch and lift too. Go. Understanding my words, Babetto cried out vigorously. TSK. What a simpleton. Be it people or wyverns, flattery was a thing of wonder that could make someone work to the bone with just a few words. Feeling the dynamic movement of Babetto as he beat his wings so strongly that all his muscles stood out, I gazed at the land. The Nurman Plains, which had drawn me strangely to it from the moment I laid eyes on it. I filled my eyes with the sight of this rascal, this wild but thriving plains. Before I knew it, it had become a cute rascal that had taken a spot deep inside my heart. Asterisk. Thursday thump. Ooh, 2 trolls. Another person whistled in admiration. As expected of Sky Knight, 2 trolls were tossed to the ground from Babetto's claws. The 2 monsters that had opposed Babetto and me, but were turned into floppy punching bags, were laying face first on the ground of the covert. What incredible regeneration ability! The wounds from Babetto's claws and my sword had cut through tendon and had been fairly deep, but they gushed blue blood and healed within no time. Tell the merchants to come in. After taking control of the covert, I had chased out the mages and merchants residing within. As long as this place was my home, I had zero desire to live next to all sorts of merchants. How very impressive. Not a single person so far has caught 2 trolls at once. The mercenaries stared and Babetto and me with surprise as they flocked over. Wow, there are even more of them already. The mercenaries had poured in at the words that they would be paid double. Like Riker said, it wasn't just me. His propaganda effect as the Riker, the guild master, had a share in this too. GRRR. Gay. The trolls are moving. They're not even tied up. Yuah. CLCL clang. In a short time, I was looking at the mercenaries with satisfaction. The trolls shook off their unconscious state and were slowly getting up, their red eyes gleaming. Completely startled by that sight, the mercenaries hastily drew their weapons. They were huge monsters that would be difficult to face if you weren't a blade knight, so the mercenaries were definitely feeling fear. However, I had this lovable little fellow with me. Step on him. Go. Flap, flap, flap. Crunch, crunch. Squeal. As soon as the command fell, faithful go-getter Babetto flew over to the 2 resisting trolls with frightening speed and trampled them down with his enormous weight and steel-like claws. With gruesome screams, the trolls were flattened into pancakes. The faces of the mercenaries froze with fear as they watched Babetto. They were surely imagining what it would have been like if they had been the ones to get crushed into jerky instead of the trolls. Ho-ho, when stepping, step thoroughly. Humans had a bad habit of not believing before seeing. In this moment, the mercenaries would get it straight. If they rebelled, they would be flattened like those trolls. HM? Now who might those guys be? Mercenaries ran to the covert entrance at my order, and shortly afterwards, a few merchants and mages wanting to acquire ingredients came inside. However, it wasn't just them. It was a scene that looked like pictures from the Korean War, something I'd seen often before. Around 100 people in family units shuffled inside awkwardly behind the merchants. Holding 1 or 2 bundles each, they looked like refugees. My liege, welcome back. Just then, Derval appeared. Who are they? That is... Derval made a troubled expression at my query. Mr. It wasn't just Derval who came, but also the cute kiddo Lucia, who had taken the covert as a playground. Lucia, what's up? Something you want to say? I didn't know about other kids, but whenever I saw little Lucia, I couldn't help but smile. Is it okay if I live with my friends? Friends. Over there. Lucia pointed to the refugees with her hand. A few kids the same age as Lucia noticed my glance and nervously straightened. They are people who were chased out from their homes by Viscount Lookins. They must have heard the rumors, because they were standing like that in front of the covert entrance starting early in the morning. Lookins really was no different from a loan shark. From what I could see, These people seemed to have borrowed money, like Lucia's family, for the protection fee, and were chased out from their homes. Rotten bastard. The rich grew richer. He was a dirty human extorting money from those who were barely eking out a living on the Nerman Plains. My insides roiled. Of course, if they're Lucia's friends, they're all welcome. Yippee. Our mister is the best. Urgh. This kiddo's calling me Mister. The feeling of getting called a mister, even though I was a lively youth, just barely 18 years of age. Anyone who hadn't experienced it wouldn't understand. Come over here, our mister said. Everyone can live together. Waving with an excited voice, Lucia called the kids. My liege has given permission. Everyone, please come here, yelled Derval, who was watching from the side, to the people who were sending disbelieving gazes our way. My goodness, sir, thank you. Sobi. Thank you. Thank you so much. Stepping forward at Derval's words, the people kneeled in front of me. Unlike other places, this place was surrounded by monsters, pirates, and mountains, so there was nowhere for them to go. They wept tears as they expressed their thanks, even though there wasn't much I could do for them except distribute them empty hangers to keep the rain off their backs. Derval, provide them accommodations and give them food. And if there are times you need people for covert repairs or other such matters, employ these people first. As you command, responded Derval vigorously, his face full of happiness. I'm thankful just for a place to sleep, but to even give us work. You will be blessed by Semi-Nim, sir. Shit, lookins, you dirty beggar shithole. Was there really nothing to suck dry that you had to suck these poor people dry? From the looks of it, they were poorly fed. Moreover, the adults aside, what kind of sin did these weak-as-hell kids commit? They all moved under Derval's command, nodding their heads like bobbleheads towards me. A part of my heart prickled faintly. Oh ho, Aidon, let's go over there. There's a really cool wyvern named Babetto. Wow, can we really go see? Do we not have to sleep outside anymore? Of course, our mister will take care of everything, because mister is the knight who protects our dreams. The young kids had gathered next to Lucia. At her words, they all looked towards me with sparkling eyes. And I, facing those kids' pure eyes, flashed a smile back. I didn't know about any other people, but I wanted to give at least these kids who were brimming with hope a future. A guardian knight protecting dreams. I was a sky knight.